Hello everyone and welcome back to MCERC's YouTube channel, Ocean Smarts and Whale Farts. Today I am revisiting the video that we did last week, which was our germ experiment. And so I'm just going to be explaining the science about what's going on and to emphasize the importance of washing your hands. So the first thing that we're going to ask is, what are germs? You may think germs are bugs or cooties, but they're not. They're actually a lot more complex than that, and there are 4 different kinds. But germs are a group of tiny invaders that can make our bodies sick. And they're living things, but they're so tiny that we can't see them without a microscope. I could have germs on my skin right now and I wouldn't be able to tell. They spread very easily and undetected, which is how we can get sick without even knowing when or how we did. And when we are sick, that's our body's response to trying to get rid of these germs from our body. So when we have a fever, or when we're coughing or sneezing, that's our body's reaction, our immune reaction to these germs and viruses that are in our bodies. So with that being said, let's go into the 4 different kinds of germs that there are. There's bacteria, viruses, fungi, and protozoa. And all these germs can affect plants, they can affect animals, and people. So starting off with bacteria, they're tiny one-celled organisms, which are living things, and they get nutrients from the environments that they live in. And they can live and reproduce either inside of a human body or outside, so they don't need to have a host organism that provides them their nutrients. Some infections that we can get from bacteria include ear infections, sore throats, cavities, and pneumonia. But not all bacteria are bad. Some bacteria are really good for our bodies. Like, we have really good bacteria in our gut, in our intestines, and they help to get all of the nutrients out from the foods that we eat, and also help us to make waste to get rid of later. So if we eat a healthy meal, we really couldn't get the most out of it without these germs in our bodies. Some bacteria are also used by scientists in labs to help create vaccines and medicines, which help either to get rid of infections or to prevent them. The second type of germ that we're going to talk about are viruses. And viruses need to be inside of living cells in order to grow and to reproduce. So they can't survive very long if they're not inside a living thing like a plant, an animal, or a human. However, they do live for a very short time on surfaces like doorknobs, countertops, things like that. So it's super important to wash your hands regularly, because you never know when you can touch something, pick up those germs, and spread them to other surfaces or people. Some sicknesses that viruses can cause are things like chickenpox, the measles, the flu, and many other diseases. The third type of germ is fungi, which are multicelled and plant-like. If you think, fungi are things like mushrooms. But unlike other plants, fungi can't make their own food through photosynthesis. They can't just get their food from soil, water, and air, and the sun. Fungi need to get their nutrients from other plants, people, and animals. And they love to live in damp and warm places, and many of them aren't dangerous in healthy people. Examples of something caused by fungi are ringworm or athlete's foot, which is that kind of itchy rash that you can get between your toes when you're a teenager or an adult. And the final type of germ is protozoa. That's a fun one to say, right? Protozoa are one-celled organisms that love moisture and often spread diseases through water. Some protozoa cause intestinal infections, and your intestines are your gut that we talked about earlier, and they can lead to things like diarrhea, nausea, and belly pain. So now that we've covered what germs are, let's go over what is soap. Soap, interestingly enough, is made from water, ashes, and fat from either animals or plants. When the 3 are mixed together, a chemical reaction takes place. This means that the water, the ashes, and the fat turn into something different when they're all combined. They turn into what we call soap. And when this chemical change happens to make soap, 2 types of molecules are created. One of the molecules that's made from this chemical reaction is hydrophobic, means that it hates water. And the other end is hydrophilic, which means that it loves water. So in one soap molecule, it has 2 opposite ends that are polar from each other. And polar means that they have different charges. One side is positively charged and one side is negatively charged. And that's why one of them is very attracted to water and one is very unattracted to water. Water has a positive charge, so the negative charged side is going to be attracted to water, the hydrophilic side. If you think of a magnet, one end is north, one end is south. That means one is positive and one is negative. If you try to put north and north together, or south and south together, a positive, positive, or negative, negative, they won't touch. But if you put a north and south end together, a positive and a negative, then they attract. And so the positive end of the soap molecule, the hydrophobic end, is not going to like water because water is also positively charged. So they're naturally going to repel each other. So now that we've kind of talked about what soap is, let's go into why the pepper floated in the first place on our bowl of water. To start off, the behavior of the pepper is directly related to the surface tension of the medium that you're putting the pepper into, which in this case is our water. Pepper itself is hydrophobic, so it's a positively charged molecule, and it does not like water. So naturally, it won't dissolve and it won't mix with it. Pepper is also very light and not very dense. Since it is less dense than the water, it's going to sit up on the top. Water molecules are very attracted to each other through hydrogen bonds. And because they are so attracted to each other, that means that they're going to have a high surface tension. So at the very top of the water, there's a lot of tension, there's very strong connections between your water, so it's going to be harder for things that are less dense than it to break through that surface tension because they want to stick together. And so since pepper is less dense, it's also hydrophobic, doesn't like water, it's going to stay at the very top. So now let's think about, why does the pepper move to the sides of the dish when soap is introduced? When you add soap to the water, it breaks the surface tension. Soap is more dense than water. So the soap being more dense is going to break some of that surface tension, but the water wants to stay connected. So it's going to push away from the soap so that it can keep that high surface tension, which brings the pepper with it and pushes it all to the sides, because that's how it's going to maintain its surface tension, is on the outsides away from the soap. This is the same way that germs would react to soap when you're washing your hands. When you just wash your hands with water, nothing's really gonna happen. Some of them will wash away, but not most of them. Whereas if you use soap, they're going to help wash those all away. So how does the soap wash the germs away? Well, the hydrophobic, or the water-hating end of your soap molecule, is going to grab a hold of the dirt and oil on your hands and your body, which are more negatively charged. The hydrophilic, or water-loving molecules in the soap, are going to mix with the water, and so by working together, the hydrophilic and hydrophobic ends of the soap molecule, they're going to remove the dirt from your body and wash it all away. So now that we've kind of gone over everything that happens in the experiment, let's finish off with talking about what germs do. Once germs invade our bodies, they use up the nutrients and the energy that we've tried so hard to get for ourselves. We need those nutrients and energy to keep our bodies moving, our brains working, our heart going, and to stay healthy and feel good. But when the germs use those, they can produce toxins, which are proteins that act like poisons. They can cause symptoms of common infections like fevers, sniffles, rashes, coughing, vomiting, all those lovely things that we don't want to happen. And most germs are spread through the air, like in sneezes and coughs, and even breathing. They can also spread though through water, like sweat and saliva or blood, and some pass from person to person by touching, or by touching something that is contaminated, like a doorknob or a table or desk, some other surface. So it's important that if you touch things in public places or if you shake hands with someone, just in general, try to avoid putting your hands near your mouth or your face, because that's a really easy way to get those viruses and bacteria and all the bad things inside of your body. But even better than avoiding doing that, it's important to wash your hands, as is proven with this experiment. And there is a right way to wash your hands. You want to use warmer water and you want to use soap. And you want to rub your hands together for at least 15 seconds. If you don't want to count to 15, or if you want to make it more fun, you can sing happy birthday to yourself. Other important things to prevent spreading germs is to cover your coughs, cover your sneezes, blow your nose into things like tissues, and make sure you throw them away and wash your hands afterwards. And finally, another way to prevent all these illnesses and infections is to make sure you get your routine immunizations from your doctors. Those are all the typical ones that are recommended. And often we have to get a lot of those before we even go into school. Shots aren't always fun, but if you just look away, close your eyes, take deep breaths, it's really quick and just feels like a little pinch. And it's super important to keep your immune system strong and to be prepared to battle those germs. So to finish off, the moral of the story here is to eat well, get a good amount of sleep, exercise, keep your bodies healthy, practice good hygiene to be considerate for yourself and for those around you, so that we can all live really long, healthy, happy lives. Yay! I hope everything in this video made sense. I hope it was interesting and fun. If you have any further questions, I'm happy to give some more resources. Just send me an email or comment below. It would also really help if you liked and subscribed to our channel if you like our videos. Share them with your friends. It would really help us out a lot. Anyways, thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you all next week. Bye!